tonight. We'll be checking in with him shortly on what is turning into another chaotic and dangerous night on the streets of Cairo. Protesters are once again ignoring the curfew. The death toll stands at more than 100 now, with thousands more injured. Tonight, the State Department is making plans to evacuate thousands of U.S. citizens on chartered planes starting tomorrow. And signs today the White House may be distancing itself from the Mubarak government. President Obama said the U.S. supports, quote, an orderly transition in Egypt. We have special coverage from Cairo and across the Middle East this evening, beginning again with our chief foreign correspondent, Richard Engel, in Cairo. Richard?
Good evening, Kate. We've been hearing bursts of automatic gunfire tonight as soldiers fire on looters who were trying to raid a church. This is a situation now where no one is truly in charge. Not the police, not the government, not even the army. The army has sent tanks into the streets, and today, fighter jets buzzed Cairo. Egypt has gone from a police state to a state of chaos. But the show of force isn't stopping thousands of demonstrators.
No one is afraid of the curfew. We've been afraid for 30 years, and no one is afraid now.
And with each day, more soldiers, the backbone of President Mubarak's regime, are joining the protests against him. But away from the rallies, Egypt is spinning out of control. Looting has become widespread. The government pulled all police from their posts yesterday. It created a drastic security vacuum. There have been breakouts at least 5 prisons. Witnesses say up to 10,000 prisoners have escaped. Murderers, rapists, and also Islamic militants. Egyptians now fear crime and terrorism. The escapees included more than 30 leaders from the Muslim Brotherhood, a banned Islamic group that has joined the protests. In Alexandria today, huge crowds gathered to bury some of the more than 100 killed so far. Medical officials tell NBC News 4,000 have been injured and 500 people are missing, many of them women. For protection, Egyptians are now relying on themselves. Across Cairo, a kind of mob justice is being established. They're looking for looters and thieves. The neighborhood guards are armed with sticks, metal bars, golf clubs, knives, anything they can find.
It's very terrifying. Everybody is defending their house, their wives, their sisters, their brothers, everything. We don't sleep. The vigilantes have made hundreds of citizen arrests, and witnesses say they've killed and beaten an unknown number of suspected looters. The arrival of vigilantes stopping cars at will has terrified foreigners in Egypt. This revolt still has no single leader, but the former UN weapons inspector Mohammed al-Baradei clearly wants the role. Tonight, defying a curfew, he spoke to protesters in Cairo and called for President Mubarak to step down. You've taken back your rights, he told the demonstrators. What we have begun cannot go back.
I feel he's neutral, and he could form a neutral government and lead us out of this mess.
But Baradei so far doesn't have broad popularity here. The Nobel laureate has spent much of his life outside Egypt. President Mubarak briefly appeared on television, meeting his National Security Council. Military sources tell NBC News he has already handed some authority to his newly appointed Vice President, Omar Suleiman. But the unrest and now crime here only seem to be convincing more Egyptians that Mubarak should step down to prevent more bloodshed. Egyptian police have begun to redeploy across Egypt. The government says they will return to the streets of Cairo tomorrow. Kate?
Richard, you lived there for 4 years. You know this place so well. You've been there on the ground for several days now. What's the main difference today from prior days?
Every day that passes, more and more average people, the working class of Egypt, are joining these protests. It is not just a student movement anymore. It is not a religious or political fringe movement. It is the unemployed. It is the average Egyptian who has now decided to take his grievances to the streets and ask for Mubarak to step down.
Richard Engel reporting again tonight from Cairo. Thank you. The State Department said today it will help Americans who want to get out of Egypt. Charter flights that begin tomorrow will carry non-essential embassy personnel and dependents first, and then other American citizens who want to leave. CNBC's Aaron Burnett reports from Cairo on the tense wait for a flight out.
the uprising. Thousands of tourists, including Americans, fill Cairo's airport, trapped in the rising chaos in the streets and stranded by canceled flights. Today, the U.S. State Department announced it will be chartering planes for Americans who want to leave. For Eleanor Radcliffe from Virginia, holed up in her hotel for days now, it won't be a moment too soon.
I didn't actually feel nervous or upset about anything until the jets started flying overhead. And I was sitting outside, and one came very low over the hotel, and I thought we were being bombed.
There are currently 50,000 Americans in Egypt who have registered with the U.S. Embassy. In the coming days, the State Department estimates thousands of them will try to get flights out of the country.
It's very chaotic for us, and we don't speak the language, and it's hard to communicate with people and get information, and so the best thing for us is to get to the airport.
Some, though, who have ventured out from their hotels have first-person accounts of the protests and military response.
I've never seen anything like it before. I walked out into the crowds and kind of saw what was going on. There was a lot of, tear gas, and it was the first time I've ever smelled tear gas. That was interesting.
Certainly not what most people have in mind when they think of a vacation to Egypt, where they expect